Welcome to the channel where all you gotta do is fix the coolant leak on this 2013 Model S. So this is my wife's daily driver. It's got the ugly old rims on it now because I had a bolt in the nice wheels and tires with the pearly courses, but we'll put those back on soon. Yeah, she does stuff like that. Don't mind her. Anyway, this is P85. So it's got the large drive unit in it. Two-wheel drive only. It's like 408 horsepower, something like that. It moves pretty good. And I bought this car as a Tesla buyback, kind of the California lemon law thing, because the original owner had its fourth drive unit replacement. So
daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
So that had about, I don't know, 58-ish thousand miles on it. And it's got 135 now. Battery still charges up to 235 miles or something like that, so that's good. But it's been having the past probably 2 years. It's been having a lot of low coolant warning lights and stuff. So I know what happens when there's a low coolant warning. You put more in and it just leaks out of the rotor cooling seal. So I've been putting this off for over a year now, but I just got to do it. I don't want to have to buy a new motor, and it's going to be in service for months, and they're probably going to screw something else up like usual. So I'm just going to pull this thing in there, and I'm going to try to do it a little bit different actually. I'm not going to pull the cross member out because I don't want to disconnect all the high voltage stuff. So my plan, anyway, I'm going to pull this apart and see if I can do it without pulling the drive unit out. If I can't, I'll come up with a different solution. I always do. Okay, that was 20 minutes of monkey effing a football trying to get this thing in there. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is open the doors and windows and hood and stuff, because we're going to be disconnecting the battery and it won't work. So is enable jack mode. So this has got air suspension, so you don't want to jack it up with it enabled. So that should pop up on the screen. And then we're ready to start disconnecting stuff. So, as you can see, there isn't a lot of clearance in there. And this thing has a big long tube sticking out of it, like, I don't know, 8 inches long or something, that goes inside the center of the rotor shaft. So, basically the seal delete manifold just gets rid of that, and it just has a manifold that goes, the water goes in here to that, and then it goes up through the cooling tube and then back out the top. And I don't need any of that anymore. I just won't cool the rotor. It'll be fine. And I think I want to get a new hose there, which I think I could probably just find something closer to O'Reilly's or whatever. But the problem, I don't know if it's a problem yet, but see up there where there's I don't know, 8-10 millimeters. I'm gonna have to take my fancy pants reciprocating saw and saw that off of there. As long as I don't touch this here, that's fine. And then once I get this piece off, there's still going to be a piece of cooling tube there that's sticking out. But after this is out of the way, I'll have like 2 inches, so I'll be able to pull that cooling tube out 2 inches and then get my reciprocating saw, hacksaw blade, whatever. It's just thin aluminum. And then just cut 2 inches off it, and then 2 inches more off it, and 2 inches more off it until it's all gone. Because we can't let that thing just rattle around in there. It'll be... Oh, that would really annoy my wife, but no. So anyway, not simple. Maybe more effort than just taking the drive unit out, but I want to see if this is feasible. So I'm going to do it this way. I think it's not going to be too bad. Okay, so this is my robot. It's got an arm up here, an arm over here, and I guess this is his torso, and that's his face. And depending on the day, he's either smiling or frowning. So anyway, these are a bunch of parts that I worked in over my years. This is a Model 3 input gear. This is where the oil goes into it to lubricate the splines. There's some spiny splines inside here. You can't really see them, but trust me, they're in there. And this is the intermediate gear for the Model 3. Little waffle plate thing on there to make it light and stiff. This is actually a large drive unit E shaft. It's a dash E. So I designed, the splines used to strip out on the early one, so this was an improvement. I don't even want to talk about this, but my boss made me make this stupid thing to displace the grease, and anyway, stupid. This is a heat exchanger of Model 3. Actually, that might be a Raven. And this is a windage tray. So basically the way the cooling or the lubrication system works is the intermediate goes inside this little bucket here. Like down would be that way. So it goes inside that little bucket, and the ring gear goes inside this bucket, and there's a little hole right here. You can see that. There's a tiny little hole right there. See the light coming through it, and another one here. That's what lets oil in from the sump, because the sump level is up kind of where I drew that mark in the dust. So the gear doesn't have to paddle through the oil all the time. It just a little bit goes in to lubricate the gears and splashes around, and you gain a bunch of efficiency. But the reason I showed you this is because this has the coolant delete manifold that's using the bicep, whatever that bone is in your arm where your muscle is. So this was my brainchild, so they jammed it onto my my robot. So I got 2 of them. It's got a little hole drilled in it, but I can weld that up. Not a big deal. And then I was telling you earlier about the tube that's inside. This is actually a tube that would normally be for the rotor cooling. This is the tube that I'm talking about. That's like 10 inches long. So first I'm going to have to do is saw it here, and then slide it out a little bit, and saw it here, and slide it out a little bit. And I'm sure it's going to fall inside, but I'll fish it out with a piece of wire or something until I get that whole thing out of there. Okay, so first thing, we got it in jack mode, and we took the lock for the wheels out of the glove box. Super important. Now we're going to disconnect the battery in the high voltage line so nothing turns on while we disconnectorize stuff. Maybe I should, I don't know, maybe I should replace that? Alright, there's the battery. Finally. Kind of in my way. And this is the high voltage disconnect. So in a situation with the fire department, they would just cut this. They don't fuck around disconnecting shit. They just So that's the high voltage interlock. So even if the battery was hooked up, this shouldn't allow the contactors to close. And the battery isn't hooked up, and I'm going to put a piece of tape on top of the battery in case, I don't know, a squirrel jumps in there and knocks it and bumps up against it or whatever. Okay, so taking a couple of the bolts out of there. There's still one in the top left, but this is what I'm doing. Just gonna saw that guy into oblivion. So this is just my standard, you know, reciprocating saw. I unbolted the little 2x4-ish guard thing up here so it fits in there a little better. You could probably just use a longer blade, but I didn't have one, so this is what I did. So anyway, I'll saw the rest of the way through there, and yeah, I left the sensor on there just so I could keep some debris from going in there, but yeah, not too concerned about it. We'll clean that all up with some Q-tips or whatever. But yeah, that how much sawing I've done so far took about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. Not very much. So again, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but if it does, it'll be way easier to implement in the driveway kind of scenario instead of taking it to a shop that has to have a lift and all that junk. So, but it may not work, and I may end up dropping the whole subframe out like everybody else does. But I thought it'd be useful enough to see if this does work, and I'll be the guinea pig. Okay, so I got this piece sawed off, and then fixing to get ready to saw the rest of that through there. Here's a little better view of it. You can see the inside of the cooling tube. So I used to have about, I don't know, 8 millimeters. Now I got like 15. So I can slide that out a little bit more. I also have wrench access to that top bolt. So that'll be nice. Get that top bolt out a little bit easier. So yeah, we'll just keep nibbling away at this thing. Probably going to take the better part of an hour to get it completely out of there with the tube and everything, but I'll keep, it's really hard to video down here and hold the saw. Okay, so got this little piece off as well. It's weird that I'm too tall. Usually that's not the problem. So I jammed this little rag in here just to keep the sawdust or the aluminum dust, and this is all nice and clean in here, so keep the dirt out of the system, but there's still a lot of road grime under here. So the port that's in the housing, I jammed some paper towels in that to keep more debris off of it, but anyway, getting there. Okay, so the next thing I had to do was get the outlet bolt off, which is on the top. So anyway, that's what I used to take the top bolt out. Some of the pieces left over. So now, well, you can see that. But I can pry that guy off of there now, and I might want to saw a little bit more off of there. Nothing really to hit, so I might as well just, I need to get it out far enough to get to the hose inside, that aluminum tube, so I can saw that off, and then it'll be hopefully quick work. Okay, so I'm not sure how good it's going to come on in video, but if you look up there, you can see, and maybe that comes in focus, I don't know. The screen's like 1/4 inch from my face, so you can see the end of the rotor shaft, and you can also see the cooling tube. So I think I can get a hacksaw just by hand, hacksaw blade, and get the first cut done. Okay, so here we are. I got this guy sawed in half. So I have this fancy little Stanley tool here that you're supposed to put hacksaw blades in. So I spent like, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour with this hacksaw blade. Got about halfway through it. Said F that. And then I went and got a Sawzall blade. It doesn't fit in this holder, but I just ground it till it did. And then 2 minutes of sawing through the rest of it. So don't F around with stupid hacksaw blades, because they just, if you try to put too much pressure on them, they buckle. And anyway, so that's the inside of it. That's the cooling tube. That's the seal. Okay, here's what I came up with. I already sawed one piece off. Laying around here somewhere. Yeah, right there. And then, yeah, I just put the vice grip around up there, and then I put a vice grip to hold it to the frame so it doesn't jiggle around. And then I tried using the manual one. It's for the birds, so I'll use this guy. Let's do it in seconds. Okay, so got these guys all cut off. Here's all the pieces. Wasn't that bad. I highly recommend that for the first cut and that for the rest of the cuts. And I got this all cleaned up. Okay, so the new manifold's on. I got these two bolts on there and torqued, and then I got the two bottom bolts, pretty easy. The top bolt's a little bit harder to get, but with a long wrench you can get to it. And then on that top bolt, I stuck that one into the water manifold first, so I wouldn't have to try and fight it with this thing in here. I could reach my hand up there and stick it on. So, and then I'll use my fancy tool. I'll leave the sensor off until I get that top one tightened, because I get more turn on it. And then, yeah, so then I just put this guy back on and the speed sensor back in, and yeah, we're pretty much done here. So just to let you know how long this has taken, I started this at 10 o'clock in the morning yesterday. Most of that time was spent, moving cars out of the way and, gathering up tools and crap like that. So really today I started actually working on it probably about 11:30. And then it's like 4 o'clock now. So anyway, that's how long it took me, but I was trying to figure stuff out as I was doing it. So this is probably a 5-hour job, 6-hour job or something like that if you've done it before. If you haven't, I'd give yourself 4 times that or something. But it's actually not too bad. And in the end I'll put a list. I'll just scatter the tools that are laying everywhere. I'll just put those in a big pile so you can see what tools I needed, and I'll go through that. What I would recommend, because I did some stuff kind of wrong. But anyway, it's a totally doable job, I think. Job's all done. All the bolts are up there tight. That's what it looks like. Super nice fitment. It just slid right on. So in case I didn't mention it before, this one has an O-ring on it. The top one has an O-ring on it, but this one, this 4-bolt flange here, doesn't have. So you have to put RTV on that. And that's just to keep, flood waters from going in when you're wading through a big puddle. This one has an O-ring as well. So you just need RTV around. Well, I'll show you on the old one. You can see the remnants of RTV on it. This here you'll need RTV around there and there. Okay, so this is all the tools that I used. The torque wrench to put the wheels and tires back on, but I use that to take them off, and that. Pretty much know what that's for, to make that into a lot of pieces. And then this is to get the clips off, both taking the battery out and the rear under tray. Flashlight's helpful. Highly recommend that. This sucks, this is good. This is my fancy tool to get the top bolt off. Bolt it's up here. And then there's some Torx on the bottom of the under tray. So I didn't really need to take off. Some 10mm wrenches. I also used a clicky wrench. I don't know where that ran off to. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. Where could it have gone? Huh. In my pocket? No. Oh, there it is. Clicky wrench. And you need some RTV to seal up the 4-bolt flange. I didn't really need that, but I wanted to know that I was taking the battery terminal off properly. And then this one is basically just a pair of vice grips with some tubes around the outside. This happens to be shrink tube, so it doesn't cut the hose. That's to keep the coolant from leaking out. And then this one and this one I used to hold the pipe while I was sawing it. And that's about it. One other thing that you don't necessarily need, but I whittled it up anyway. So I didn't want this jack to tear a hole in the bottom of the car. So that maple tree that I cut down a couple weeks ago, I just grabbed a piece about the right size, and still see the hex in there, and just kind of turned it to sit in here like a hockey puck so it doesn't crush anything under the car. Okay, so got the back of the car semi-buttoned up. I don't have the under tray back on completely, but it's still jacked up so I can. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to top this coolant reservoir up. It's a little bit drained out, maybe, I don't know, a quart or something, half a quart. Okay, so now order of sequence here is to plug in the high voltage interlock. It's this guy right here. See that? This little out of the way. And then lift the battery up. Negatory side of the battery, that is. And the car is coming back to life. You can hear it clicking and buzzing and stuff. The coolant sloshing around, which is good. Okay, so this bolt is kind of loose on the socket, and I don't want to drop it down into, you know, the abyss. So I'm going to take a little piece of paper towel, and then see that? It stays on there. Okay, that's a wrap. My lens needs a little cleaning from all the dust, but She's all back to life. It's good. Tire pressure monitoring system failed, of course, because I think the batteries are dead in these, but I got to replace these anyway. And I definitely have to torque these. Haven't done that yet, so don't forget to do that. And I just wanted to mention that I disconnected the battery and the high voltage interlock because I thought potentially I was going to have to pull the drive unit out, maybe pull the cross member out, which requires me to take the logic plug off the drive unit, off the inverter, which I really wanted to avoid, taking the connectors off the inverter because those usually get corroded because to similar metals. So if you're doing the same thing that I just did, you don't really need to disconnect stuff. You need to put it in jack mode, but you don't really need to disconnect the battery because I disconnected no electrical stuff at all. So top it up with fluid, and this should be good for another, 50,000 miles before the bearings die or something else. I mean, maybe they won't die. I'm not sure. This one does have a common mode choke, so that might be enough without the grounding. So if you don't know, this is submerged in coolant, and it acts as a ground from the case to the rotor shaft. So this is kind of like the ground bearing is in Model 3. But there's a lot of complicated science that goes into making your electric drive unit not have bearing discharge, and it's really kind of a crapshoot. It's very complicated, so you really just have to do your best and test. And I hope Tesla did that. When I designed that coolant seal delete manifold, we hadn't done any of that testing. We had it on a B class to drive around and see how long it lasted, but then I quit and that car disappeared and whatever. So anyway, I'm hoping they did the testing and it's all fine. But if not, the worst case scenario is the bearings, the input bearing starts getting bearing damage and sounds like a fire truck's following you. But that's easily replaced. Pull the drive unit apart, put a new 6208 bearing in it, throw it back together, should be fine. So, whereas if this fails by flooding the rotor, stator, and inverter, you pretty much have a drive unit that's, garbage. So, anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this content, want more, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and put some comments in there in case I have quite a bit of experience with Tesla drive units, and I'd be happy to share what little I know. If it helps you out, that's the whole purpose I'm doing the YouTube thing. It's not really a profit center. It's just for fun, and if I can help one person a week, that's more than normal. So that's what I want to do.